On this week's show, we've got all the juicy details on Ekko, Ash's much-anticipated rework, and patch 5.9. All that and more on this week's Waypoint. What's up, guys, and welcome to Waypoint, your weekly League of Legends recap. I'm your host, Andrusco. First up this week, there's a new champion up on the PvE. That's right, you guessed it, we gotta talk about the boy who shattered time, Ekko. First up, his passive is one any melee champion would be happy with. Check this out. Every third attack or spell against a target slows them and deals bonus damage. If Ekko triggers his passive against an enemy champion, he also gets a move speed buff. His Q is a ranged skill shot that goes through enemies and obviously damages them. At its max range, or when it hits an enemy champion, it expands into a slowing field. Then, after a moment, the device returns to Ekko's current location, again damaging all enemies in its path. Pretty cool skill. Lots of different elements going on here, and again, like his passive and almost all of his abilities, it helps him stay in melee range. His W passively causes his auto attacks to deal bonus damage to low health targets. When activated, Ekko throws out a long-range skill shot that, like his Q, expands into a slowing zone. This one is larger though, and although it doesn't deal damage if Ekko enters the sphere, it acts as a shield for Ekko and stuns all enemies inside it. His E is just the icing on the cake when it comes to making Ekko a sticky melee carry. It's a short-range dash that then gives his next auto attack the ability to blink to his target at a much longer range. I seriously don't know if there's a champion in the game that will be able to escape a good Ekko player. Think about it. What are the main weaknesses of any melee damaged focus carry? Being kited is number one, which Ekko clearly doesn't have a problem with. Being squishy and getting blown up is probably number two. Luckily, Ekko's ultimate deals with that. Check this out. When Ekko uses his ultimate, he becomes untargetable and invulnerable for a brief time before teleporting to wherever he was a few seconds ago. Once he reappears, he regains some health and does AoE damage to all enemies around him. You're not impressed? It gets better. Ekko can use this in lane, recall back to base, and reappear in lane instantly. Holy shit, this guy's gonna see a lot of play. Next up is the long-awaited Ash update. Ash is an interesting champion. I mean, she's been really powerful at certain points and almost unplayable at others. But she does bring something to the table that very few AD carries bring: initiation. In a meta like the one we have right now, with powerful initiation options coming from the jungle, top, and support, the only thing you really want from your AD carry is two things: damage and survivability. Ashe has always done well on the damage front. She actually scales better than you might think. But she has always struggled with immobility and surviving assassinations, and this update has not changed that. Her passive has changed to Frost Shot, adding a slow to her basic attacks and spells. On top of that, she always crits targets slowed by Frost Shot, but she cannot crit normally. Her crit damage multiplier has been toned down to keep this from being completely insane, with critical strike items bumping that damage back up. Pretty scary, honestly, especially in the early game before the other carry has gotten an infinity edge. Her new Q grants her a stack of focus every time she applies Frost Shot with her passive. She can consume her focus stacks to gain a large attack speed boost and increase the slow on Frost Shot for 4 seconds. Consuming the max 5 stacks also increases her damage, and that scales with her total AD. Ashe is gonna hit, or crit, like a truck in late game. Her W volley remains mostly the same, with a few nice buffs. However, enemies can now block multiple arrows while taking only damage from the first one. Unlike Graves, Ashe will be better off using her cone of damage from a good distance. Unleashing hell directly in front of someone's face is going to be a waste in a team fight. Ash's E, Hawkshot, is actually one of her unique strengths. Very few champions have abilities that provide free vision on the map, and with this buff, Ash really is the queen of vision. Hawkshot's range is now global, which has the potential to be stupidly strong in competitive play. She can even store 2 charges of it with a 5-second cooldown between them at rank 2. Considering how aggressively Riot has nerfed global abilities in the past, this is a very surprising buff. You should not be able to sneak Dragon or Baron against a team with Ash. Ever. Her ultimate mostly remains the same. It's still one of the best long-range initiation tools in the game. The only change is that instead of slowing enemies around the stunned target by 50%, it slows them down by Frostshot's current value. This is actually a straight-up nerf, unless you're level 16 and you've activated a 5-stack Ranger's Focus. Most of the time, you won't be using Ranger's Focus before using your arrow, unless you don't need it for initiation. At that point though, why are you picking Ash? Okay, we still have patch 5.9 to go over, but I want to take a quick second to talk about this week's sponsor, Audible. We really don't sponsor products or brands on this show that we don't like, and I have to say, I am a huge fan of Audible. I love having access to over 180,000 audiobooks. Not only do they have great prices, they also have some great membership discounts as well. There is seriously no better place to get your audiobook fix. They have everything from Star Wars to Star Trek, even World of Warcraft. I highly recommend the Christie Golden stuff. Also, check this out. If you choose a book and you don't like it, simply exchange it. No questions asked. Seriously. We have a great deal right now for all of our viewers. A free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. There is no risk at all, and you can cancel at any time. So head on over to gboffer.com/audible, sign up, start your free trial, and pick out a free audiobook and start listening today. We love doing this show, but we really couldn't do it without them. And just by going to gboffer.com/audible and trying it out, you are seriously making Waypoint possible. Next up, let's run through those 5.9 changes. Annie's attack range got nerfed by 50, which would be a huge deal if Annie didn't have one of the longest attack ranges in the game. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's going to hurt her laning phase, but Annie is still Annie. She brings the bear. The mana cost of Hecarim's Q has been nerfed, but in exchange it now deals full damage to monsters. I suppose this is a buff to jungle Hecarim, but honestly, it's going to benefit Smite/teleport top lane Hecarims just as much. This is a nerf to his sustained harassed in lane, but who cares? He's still top tier. Callista no longer gains bonus distance when dashing backwards. That's an absolute godsend for melee carries who don't like being kited around for days. Callista is still super strong though, and more mobile than most, so I'm pretty sure she'll be okay. Morgana's Tormented Soil damage has been nerfed. This seems like a solo lane Morgana nerf to me, which isn't very popular at the moment. Also, this doesn't affect support Morgana much at all. Weird change. Olaf's ultimate gives him a large speed boost for 1 second, but he still gets kited for days, so no one plays him. Tristana's E got a damage scaling buff, and its cast time now gets lowered by attack speed, which is a nice mechanic. It definitely feels better, so it's a noticeable quality of life buff at the very least. Trundle's Pillar has more slowing power and a slightly bigger knockback, which does make me think he really is a tank buster champion. So in theory, now is his time to shine? Zed's Death Mark now has a 1 second cooldown before it can be reactivated. Ouch! Pretty big Zed nerf, honestly, at least at higher levels of play. That is a lot of time to ruin Zed's day before he can dodge the incoming crowd control. It also feels kind of awkward. Cinderhulk's champion damage was nerfed, but it's still the most overpowered item in the game, so whatever. Cinderhulk is strong because it scales exponentially with your health pool. The more health you buy, the more cost-effective and powerful it becomes. And finally, Dragon got a bit of a damage buff. You'll probably only notice in the early game, and Nunu still won't care. Because, well, Nunu. That does it for this week's episode of Waypoint. For more video game news and content, head on over to GameBreaker.tv. Be sure to check back every week for the latest League of Legends news. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it and help us reach more people. And if you want more League of Legends content, recaps, and updates, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, LolNation TV. I'm Kat Andrusco. You can follow me on Twitter @KatAndrusco. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next Waypoint. And if you like this video, just kidding, every week for the latest League of Legends news. If you liked this video, please, damn it, fuck, I don't know why I do that. And if you want more League of Legends content, recaps, I can't talk.